Hello and welcome to another edition of Fisher Football Focus. I'm your host, James Bailey. The Cardinals played their first home Friday night game in program history this past weekend. For the second straight week, they faced the Pioneers, these ones hailing from Alfred State University. Fisher was looking to extend its two-game win streak to go over 500 for the first time this season. Let's check in on how they did.
Fisher waited no time, driving right down the field and scoring on this Matt Nathan touchdown run in the opening minutes. Then, after Pioneers 3 and out, James Chambers, getting the start for the injured Tony Fusco, would go 37 yards into the end zone to put the Cardinals up 14-0. After another defensive stand, Alfred State would have to punt again. Senior Nathan Nagolian will take the punt, 40 yards, makes a couple men miss, gets down to the 1-yard line. Chambers would take it in on the very next play. That wouldn't be it for the Lockport product, as Chambers would score his third touchdown on this 27-yard run to put the Cardinals up 28-0 in the first quarter. Senior Steven Stromolo gets into the action late in the quarter. This touchdown run would put Fisher up 35-0 after the first. Early in the second, sophomore Justin DiBernardo catches this Danny Caton touchdown. It was DiBernardo's first touchdown of his career, and it put Fisher up 42-0. Then Stromolo again ripping off a 64-yard run all the way to the house for another Cardinals touchdown. He would score another before the half and give the Cardinals a 56-0 halftime advantage. There would be no scoring in the second half, and that would be the final. Stromolo ended up with 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. Chambers 124 yards and 3 scores. The non-conference win improved the Cardinals to 4-3 on the season.
After the break, head coach Paul Vosberg will be back, so stay tuned.
I knew it wasn't going to be easy. Some things take a while to come back.
3, 2, champions!
But I've got some good buddies. I guess they're helping me figure it out. Being used to doing something with a cigarette makes it hard to do it without one. But if I can relearn to hang out with my friends without cigarettes, then I can relearn anything without cigarettes.
Relearn life without cigarettes. Free at becomeanx.org. A new way to think about quitting.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined yet again by head coach Paul Vosberg. And so, Coach, I'm sure you had high expectations for your team coming in, playing an 0-6 team. But that first half performance, did it surprise and exceed your expectations that you had for that?
I thought our kids came out of the locker room extremely well and did a great job and performed very well. It's sometimes it's hard. Those games are tough because they know the record of the other team. They've seen them on film, and sometimes that causes your team to play down a little bit and not play to their full potential. And I thought our kids did a pretty good job coming out and just getting after it and trying to execute the best they could. And the good thing was they did that, which allowed us to play a lot of guys and play a lot of guys early. There was a lot of guys that got in the first half and so on. A year ago when we had played them, I think the halftime score was only 28-0, and which is still a big lead at halftime, but not like 56. We doubled that in the first half, so it was good for our kids and to get them off the field and get more kids in and get them in early.
Guys did sit out a lot of key guys among those that weren't suited up, or Tony Fusco, Brandon Fuentes, DJ Lamore, among others. Is anything serious lingering, or are you guys just thinking that set those guys and rest them for a week?
Well, a couple of them couldn't have played at all. DJ's not ready to play. Fusco's not ready to play. He'll be ready this week. Fusco will be for sure. Not sure on DJ. We think we're going to get him back this week. Fusco's was only a little ankle injury. He'll be fine. He should be ready to go on Tuesday at practice in that. Brandon Fuentes had a concussion. He couldn't play. He got a concussion during the week at practice and so on, so he could not play. So, which was kind of disappointing for him because he wanted to play in the game, and of course, and he's a senior. You don't want to miss any games, and he got a concussion, like I said, at practice, so he couldn't play. And then Forbes was down at defensive end again, and we're hopeful maybe he can come back, hopefully against Ithaca this weekend and that. So hopefully we'll get a couple of these guys back, and we know we're going to get a couple back, but hopefully all of them will get back and be ready to go against Ithaca.
Do you think this was the ideal game if you're going to have a couple guys banged up? That game where you didn't really need your starters all that much anyways, I think that was ideal for them to sit this week?
Yeah, I think we lucked out with that situation. We had some guys down and key players down that it allowed us, because it's always nice to have all those guys ready to go, but if there's a game that we're going to sit out in, that's probably a good one for them to sit out in.
Well, we mentioned Fusco sat out, so that meant that James Chambers started, got 3 early touchdowns. So that meant that senior Steven Stromall, who's a third running back in the depth chart, was able to play, and senior playing in one of his last home games, able to rush for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns, and one of many seniors that maybe isn't really high in the depth chart, but is able to get in the game, and in his case had a big game. So how rewarding is it as a coach to see some of these older guys that may not get a lot of playing time, go out there, especially on family weekend, a home game, and get a chance to show what they can do?
Well, I was real happy for Strum. Strum's a good football player. I mean, we're pretty lucky at our running back position with Tony Fusco and James Chambers and Strum. Strum in most places would probably be the starting tailback in that, but we're pretty loaded there. So, and it's tough to get 3 guys to football at tailback. I mean, it's in that. So that was good for Strum, and Strum's been a big factor for us on all our special teams. He starts on every special team, so he's on the field a lot, and that more than people realize. He's on the field and makes a lot of plays. But it was good to see him get all those rushing yards and more carries. And he didn't have the most amount of carries, though. The Mold did. And he's never played running back for us before, really, and he ended up with the most carries for the game. But Strum had a great game and had some nice touchdowns and great runs.
And on the other side, some seniors get to play on their way out, get a little bit of time in the field. You also able to play a lot of younger guys that maybe hadn't been able to play at the Division III level yet. So do you think that having a game like that really helps to help get them on the field, help get them acclimated to playing Cardinal football?
Yeah, just the excitement of getting back on the field, being in the varsity game, being under the lights at a home game. They haven't experienced that. We got some freshmen and that haven't seen the varsity football field at all this year, and they got in. And then, of course, the biggest thing was getting the seniors who don't get a lot of play time, getting them into a home game, family weekend, and getting them quite a bit of play time. So that's the one that's probably the most rewarding more than the freshmen. The freshmen got time. The seniors, they're running out of time. So it was great to have the seniors get a lot of play time.
You guys obviously up 56-0 at half, coming out of the locker room. A cold night though, and stuff like that. And even though it was nice to get all the players out there, is it harder for you guys to stay focused in the second half? And are you proud of the way you guys did stay focused and were able to keep them out of the end zone and stuff like that in the second half when the game was clearly decided?
Yeah, I think so. I think our kids did fine in the second half. We didn't do a great job as far as scoring points or anything. We did keep them off the board. They were close a couple times getting down there. They completed a couple passes. There was a pass interference call that helped them, and that. But I thought our kids overall did good, and we're shuffling players in and out, and players playing with each other for the first time, and some guys first time in the game, and they did a good job. And they hadn't prepared a lot during the week for the game because they're backups and they don't get a lot of reps during practice, and so they probably got more reps on Friday night than they did during the week as far as running our offense or our defense. And that's a couple of those guys on the offense, they've been running scout team offense during the week or scout team defense during the week. So I thought our kids did a good job, though, in the second half.
So at the moment, you guys sit tied in the Empire 8 with Buffalo State and Alfred behind Cortland. And obviously you guys can only control what you guys do for the next 3 games. But is it a bit unnerving to know that your postseason hopes, stuff like that, is not entirely in your own hands?
Yeah, we've had this happen before. The only thing we can take care of is what we do. And our whole goal, and it hasn't changed, and we've talked about it, I think, on the show, is our job is to get better each week as football players and as a football team. And what happens after that. So just take care of getting better as a football team, and each player getting better himself so he can make the team better.
Ithaca has 3 losses on the year, all 3 losses teams that you guys have beat. So do you see that as obviously do you take that and say that, hey, look, they can't beat these guys, but we can? So do you preach that to your team, or do you don't look at that?
I don't want them to look at that, because if they looked at that, then what would have happened against Morrisville, we'd have lost Morrisville because Morrisville beat Buffalo State, so that doesn't work.
Okay.
I think what you got to do is you got to say everybody in this conference is pretty dang good, and if you don't come to play, you could get beat that weekend, and that's what's proven in our conference. And our guys should know that, especially our veterans. They should know that, this is a real strong conference. Last year, 6-2 record in conference won the conference. That was us and Ithaca. We're both 6-2, and we lost to different people. In that they got the bid over us because they had beaten us, but our other loss was to different people. They beat Salisbury, we lost to Salisbury in that, but they had lost to another team that we had beaten, and so on and so forth. So you can't look at that. You just got to realize in our conference everybody's pretty good, so you better come ready to play week in and week out.
Finally, Ithaca this past week, they started Wolfgang Schaefer at quarterback every week, son of Syracuse coach Scott Schaefer. And then this past week, got taken out for John Dionfrino. And, Dionfrino came in and played pretty well and stuff like that. And kind of odd to see a quarterback change this late in the season. But do you think that you can go in there and kind of take advantage of the fact that they may be a little iffy? They're kind of not in a super strong position right now, Ithaca?
Well, I don't know. I think I'm not sure why he pulled his starting quarterback. The other kid did come in and get, but that was a little bit of mop up. The score is 24-0, and that's with 6 minutes to go in the game, and they got one late touchdown. It was 24-6, and then they got last 30 seconds of the game. They scored a touchdown on a fourth down play. They hit a post route, and it was open for a touchdown. And from what we're seeing, Wolfgang will be back this week, and he's their number one quarterback, and rightfully so. He's put them into situations to win games, and that he's won all 4 of the games that they have won, and done a nice job with it. Beat some good people, beat Union, beat Hartwick, and so on and so forth. So, and beat a good Alfred team, an Alfred team that's tied with us for second place in the conference. So, I think they'll be back to him and whoever they put in there. We need to go play our game of football. That's whoever plays quarterback doesn't make any difference.
All right. Well, best of luck this weekend, Coach. Hopefully you can go out there and play your brand of football this weekend.
Thank you.
Coming up next, star cornerback Alec Mortellero will be on, so keep it here.
Did you buy the flashlight and the batteries?
Yes.
Did you make sure we're not missing anything in the first aid kit?
Yup.
Did you go through the plan with the kids again?
Yes.
The more you prepare today, the more you'll be able to reduce the devastating effects of a tornado, an earthquake, a power outage, or any other disaster. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Visit ready.gov.
Welcome back to Fish Football Focus, joined now by cornerback Alec Mortellero, and glad to have you on, Alec.
I'm glad to be on.
So you've had so many great games this year, but the one that particularly stands out is obviously the Courage Bowl. Piled up 12 tackles, 2 timely interceptions, a very exciting, obviously, double overtime game. What kind of thrill or adrenaline rush do you have as a player to contribute such a big role in such an important game?
Well, you make those plays and you're kind of high about them at first, but then you come back and you go back to the sideline, you come down to reality almost. You just kind of say, okay, it's over now. You live the moment while it was there. Now you just got to wait and see what happens in the game. It happened twice that game, and unfortunately, actually, both those times we didn't actually clinch the game with the interceptions. We had to depend on a missed field goal. But, when they happened, yeah, it was a high thrill, and I was excited to do it.
So moving on to this past week, obviously just a giant blowout. Have you ever experienced anything like that particular game?
Not like that. I've played in some games where we would go up and ended up winning by like 30, 40 points, but I've never been part of a win that we were just up, I think it was 35-0 after the first quarter, 58-0 after the first half. I've never been a part of that. It was nice because a lot of the kids that don't really get a shot to play in the second half and so on. So, yeah, it was definitely a different experience to be a part of a win like that.
You matched up quite a few times on 6'6" receiver Dante Jordan. You're only a 5'9" guy, and we've had Coach and I have talked about you a little bit on this show. He says you're a smart corner. Do you feel like Do you feel like, being a smaller guy, you have to use your head a little bit more than your athleticism, especially when you're going against a big receiver like that?
Well, yeah, definitely. You have to know when to jump, kind of. You have to know how to time it, because, if you mistime your jump by quarter of a second, you're pretty much going to get beat because he's so much taller than you. So you have to know when to jump, how to play the ball when it's in the air. And me, like you said, being a smarter football player in that situation helped me out, against a bigger, taller receiver like that in general.
So you play corner. What's your favorite aspect of playing on the defensive side of the ball?
I definitely I like tackling people, but I definitely like covering people. I like the idea of me being one-on-one with someone, me being dependent, the defense depending on me to stop a big play from happening. I like that pressure, that pressure that is put on me, and I don't know, it's just something about it that makes me like that.
So, as I mentioned, Coach and I have talked about you a little bit before on the show and all of your great games. One of the things that he brought up was that you missed your freshman year because of an injury. Do you feel that the injury set you back in all your personal development because you weren't able to play that year? Or do you think that it helped you a lot to be able to kind of sit back and kind of observe what the team was all about for a year?
Definitely, I think that it helped. I mean, being a freshman at a big school like this and such a good program, you're most likely not going to play a lot. You'll play mostly on JV if you do play. Some kids do play freshman year, but that's different. But it was definitely beneficial to sit out for a year because you can kind of absorb the whole defense. Coming in, I played a similar defense in high school, but it was good to sit back, watch what the defense does, how they adjust week to week in different teams, and definitely help to just absorb the defense as a whole rather than play it and play parts of it and kind of get parts, but not the whole thing.
So you think that's what helped you step in, kind of play a starting role the next year? Because that is tough to have the coaches have never seen you on the field and then have you step back in the next year and start.
Yeah, definitely. I think it helped. I mean, physically, it may not have been their best, interpretation of me, but it definitely helped me because during the season, while I was just sitting there, I was kind of watching the plays, watching the corners that were here. Ryan Seymour was here, and Brandon Fuentes, who's still on the team. I was watching them, seeing how they played, seeing how they reacted to ball, seeing how they played their coverages, and so on. So, yeah, I think that in the end, it helped me rather than hurt me.
This team, close-knit team, your third year at the program. What is your favorite aspect of the team in that sense?
I personally just love the guys on this team. I mean, it's the main reason why I love this program is because the guys on the team, it just feels so close. Even like offense, defense. When I had originally decided to come here, one of my friends told me that the offense and defense is like completely two different teams. But I don't know. Since I've been here personally, I think that the offense and defense come together and we bond and we have fun and we laugh together. And I don't know. It's just the guys as a general, I think, is like the best aspect of this team.
So being a cornerback, I'm sure you watch the NFL, kind of emulate some guys. If you could emulate one NFL corner, what would it be?
Definitely Darrelle Revis, not only because I'm a Jets fan, but I just think he's one of the best cornerbacks in the game personally. He knows how to play the game. He kind of plays with the, I should say I want to play with the same mindset as him. He's he's athletic, don't get me wrong, and he runs a 4.4 40 but he's smart in how he plays. He knows what routes are going to be run. He knows what's the down and distance, how to play a ball when it's in the air. That's the corner that I would like to emulate the most, I would say.
Yeah, and you talk about how you are a smaller guy, so you have to play it a little bit differently. Mentioned earlier. Have you ever had a moment when you're on the field and you see some 260-pound tight end coming at you? You think, oh no, are you was confident all the time that I'm gonna make this play and it doesn't matter what this guy is?
Yeah, I mean I've had a situation in that you see him coming at you, you're like, oh no, but then your instincts take over. You just kind of do it. You go low, you hold on to him pretty much, and you try and let the other defense come and clean him up. because then they'll think twice about there, because then you got, 3 linebackers coming over to tackle you. Maybe they'll go down the next time rather than, stay up there and try and fight for more yards.
So last year, at this point, the postseason question for your team is more whether or not you're going to make the NCAA tournament or a bowl game. You guys end up going to a bowl game. This year, at 4-3 right now, 3 games left, it's more of a question of whether or not you're going to be able to win out and actually make the postseason. So do you like the comfort of kind of knowing your fate a little bit better last year, or do you kind of like this underdog must-win every game role that you're in this year?
Well, it's definitely nicer to be in control of your own destiny, don't get me wrong, but I do like this kind of underdog role because people saw us in the beginning of the year, probably looked over, we lost 48-0 to Thomas More, we lost 34-17 to Cortland. Teams are probably starting to overlook us, and I kind of liked that because we knew what we had. We knew we were a good team. We just had to put the pieces together in order to, make the team whole. So I kind of like the underdog role because people are looking past us and we're coming up and we're surprising them.
All right, and then finally, you have Ithaca next week. And they had a little bit of a quarterback controversy last week. Wolfgang Schaefer had started all their games, but they benched him for John D'Onofrio. Does it kind of make you even more confident as a corner to know that there's a little bit of uncertainty on the quarterback position and the team you're playing?
Well, definitely, because, if they're uncertain about their quarterback, that means he's making probably not the best throws, not the best reads. And if he's reading me and I'm trying to make a play and he makes the wrong read, could be a big play for us on the defensive side of the ball. Not just me, but the defense as a whole. If he misses one read, he might hold the ball too long. Brandon Miller might come in and sack him. He holds the ball too long, throws late down the middle. One of our safeties, like Jeff Carlin, could come in for an interception down the middle. Something small like that could make or break the game that we play.
All right, well, thank you very much for being on. Best of luck not only next week, but as you finish out the season.
Thank you.
Don't move. Offensive lineman Donovan Kims is up next.
So here are the keys. Congratulations, it's officially yours. I'm sure you'll have many happy years here. Except for you, because you'll be gone 3 years from now, struck down by the same disease that got your father. So you won't be around for them. And sadly, it could have been detected early with a simple test, but you didn't have it. Okay, who wants to check out the backyard?
For a list of tests every man should have, go to ahrq.gov.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined now by offensive lineman Donovan Kims. Glad to have you on, Donovan.
Glad to be here.
So 355 yards rushing offensively, only 6 passing attempts. Would you say that this past week had to be an offensive lineman's dream?
Yeah, definitely. We had a lot of fun out there. It was just good to get a lot of our running backs some playing time, look at a few different formations for us, but it was a lot of fun just to be out there and get those many yards and just run the ball.
So you guys have had a variety of games this past week, obviously a big blowout, and another game under the lights, the Courage Bowl, and coming down to the last play. So as a player, do you prefer the big blowout like that, or do you like the excitement of down to the wire game like the Courage Bowl?
The Courage Bowl was fun. That's probably the craziest Courage Bowl I've been in. But I think personally, and I'm sure a lot of people agree, that we kind of like games where we know we're going to win. It's good to come out and play a good team, but we don't want to keep it close. We want to show that we're the best right from the start.
So as an offensive lineman, don't get a ton of credit recognition. If you could play any position on the field that wasn't O-line, what would it be?
Any position on the field. I'd probably like to be a running back. Wouldn't mind being a running back. I used to play D-line, so I don't mind playing defense too. I like playing the D-line, so it's pretty fun.
So on top of playing football, you're participating in indoor and outdoor track. How do you balance participating in a sport during all 3 sports seasons?
During football season, it's a little bit harder just to deal with all the strenuous stuff of football. It's a lot more daily activities, a lot more rehabbing and keeping yourself fit for the game. But I just try to schedule my classes in a time where I know I can work on my homework and still make it to practice in time and still be able to participate in games and events. So just a lot more time management is probably the biggest thing.
You think that participating in multiple sports like that helps kind of feed you for both of them, or do you think it kind of hurts that you can't just focus on the one sport all year round?
Oh no, I think it helps. I throw in indoor and outdoor track, so a lot of the stuff we do coincides with football. Like I lift every day too, just like the football team does in the off season. So my off season, I'm still lifting, I'm still running, but I'm just still competing. I'm keeping the competing aspect of it, and I think that's what helps me keep going and keep striving in football too. So.
Now, do you get to participate in spring ball while you're playing track though? While you're participating in track?
Yeah, I do as much as I can. I try to be to a few spring ball practices just so I know get the gist of things going on, and so that way I'm not all the way out of the loop. But I try to get to as much as I can. But mostly I try to keep the sports separate. But anytime I can combine the two, I will.
So I've had a few of your offensive coaches on. Obviously, Coach Vosberg every week, but also Coach Kramer, Coach Scacchetti. What are your thoughts on the offense that you guys are running this year?
Oh, I love it. It plays to all of our talents, all of our aspects of the game. A lot of it is just us kind of going out there and doing what we need to do. They get us ready every week with the game plans that they have for each team. We throw in new formations and new plays that we think will help us have the best chance to win. And I feel like as an offense, as long as we go out and practice hard and do what we need to do during the week, game time is usually a lot easier, and we just have to go out and do what we've been learning. So
you've been here for 4 years. Do you think that the offense has really changed a lot in those 4 years? They put out a different offense each year?
I wouldn't say it's really changed as much. We still kind of stick to a lot of the base plays that we have, but we do change based off the personnel that we have. I feel like that's a bigger factor. Based off the personnel we have is based off how we run things, how everything goes about with play calling and stuff like that. So I feel like it's more based off the players rather than play calling. So.
That's a lot of guests on here, what they think about Coach Vosberg, but I think I'm going to give his right-hand man a little bit of love, Coach Scacchetti, who's been around since the beginning with them, your offensive line coach. Been on this show, seemed like a very nice guy. What are your thoughts on Coach Scacchetti and kind of the coaching staff as a whole?
I love the coaching staff here. That was like one of the big reasons I came to this school was the coaching staff. Everyone knew what they were doing, and they felt they have a winning tradition, and they know what they need to do to win. And I think Coach Scatch is definitely a really good O-line coach. He knows what he's talking about. He's been through the game himself. He's played, and now he's come up and he's helped Coach Vaz get his success. So I have a lot of respect for Coach Scatch and Coach Vaz, definitely, and I love the coaching staff that I play for. So.
You have had a transition since you've been here from playing the defensive to the offensive line. Did you find there was all transition? Did you find that you felt you could be just as successful at either or?
I played offense and defense in high school, so it wasn't as hard of a transition, but there definitely is a transition. Offense, as an offensive lineman, it's a lot more really learning the plays, where defensive line, you can kind of just learn up and play football a little bit more, so it's a little bit easier to grasp. But it's not too much of a transition, I think. I think it's definitely a little bit harder to go from defense to offense rather than offense to defense. But I think once you get the hang of everything, it flows pretty smoothly.
All right, finally, 3 games left at the Cup next. All missed wins at this point. Do you like the additional pressure that you have to win every game? Do you think it motivates you and your team a little bit more to know that you have to win this game in order for?
Yeah, I think every season we look at every game as a must-win, and not always it'll come out that way. Like as we saw at the beginning of the season, we didn't really start off great, but we've turned it around, and I think it does help to have that little bit of pressure to know what we need to do is win, and that's what we're about, is winning. So to have that pressure, it doesn't really do much for us because we know each week we have to go out and play our game, but having that pressure of knowing each week it's got to be a win, I think kind of helps us to go out there each week and try to get better every week. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being on, Donovan. Best of luck to you next week and the rest of the season.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this episode. Be sure to check back next week as the Cardinals head up to Ithaca for another Empire 8 matchup. Cardinal Television, I'm James Bailey. Catch you next time.